Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do every day, maybe with our loved ones over dinner, with coworkers at the water cooler, etc., when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or sort of more agreed upon fact-based reality. Although, because Dr. Ray and I, Dr. Kay, are social constructionists, we don't actually believe there's one true objective reality, but rather our own personal versions of it constructed in the context of relationships. But you get the idea. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality out here, off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed, because it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Hello, welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like, because we're in person number 4. That's twice in a row this time. And I was realizing that last time in our excitement where we both said Dr. Ray, I forgot to say the part about take a seat or whatever, which is funny. I didn't even notice. We got through the whole episode without noticing that. So here we are. Today we said check in.
Yeah.
So thank you for checking in and taking a seat for this week's session, which we're also going to pivot for, because we're going to talk, instead of doing awards, we're going to do a little bit of like a thematic topic, a qualitative analysis of two very like large area topics that have a lot of little tendrils to them that we'll talk about. So we're basically going to center it around the 2 challenges that have happened since we last spoke. One is the heart rate challenge, and the other is the like airing dirty laundry challenge with the mailbox. So we'll do like a little bit of a recap of both those challenges as we go. We'll talk about the debates that are happening at large and so forth. So first, I want to just say before we check in that we're therapists. We're not your therapists. We're not the therapists of the folks we're talking about either. We actually have never met them. We can't really diagnose them. We might talk about diagnoses just like casually, but we can't do that without formally assessing them. So we're just talking about mental health themes related to these folks and the things we see on the TV, which means they're very much affected by producers. Really, we're talking about their mental health.
Yeah.
Because that's what they tell us about
and how feminists they are.
Yeah, exactly. Lack thereof. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we also like to talk about producer antics, so you might hear some of that. But first, tell me what is on your heart and mind today, dear Dr. Ray.
Ooh, let's see. I'm so excited that this was kind of like, this worked out by chance that we can be in person again. And it's really fun. I would say that's what's on my mind and heart. I'm happy to be in person with you again, my dear.
I love that. You're so right. It just happened to be twice in a row. And first at my place, now at your place. It's kind of fun. It's like, doing a little bit of a like traveling show. It's a circus. It is a little circus. Like,
take it.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of
Psychologist
circus peeps around here.
Are there? That's cool. Oh yeah, because there's like circus
Brattleboro.
and then there's like bread and puppet can be considered a circus, I guess, a little bit. Yeah. It's like for tripping and stuff, I guess. Anyway, there's fun things to be had. Yeah, no, that's true. I also was talking today about how there's like this subculture related to people that do skydiving and so forth, like that like move around and do the like they like go work at different skydiving sites. And I refer to them as sort of like the circus people of today. You could like run away and join the circus, run away and join the folks of that culture.
I think some of our students do that.
Circle.
They're very into skydiving, too, in particular.
I know of one I just heard about today. That's very cool. And I bet it's one that you know about as well. Little overlap.
Probably, I can even think about who it would be.
Based on how tired today. Yeah, I just, yep, exactly. And that conversation. Very cool. So that's my full circle moment on the circus conversation.
Well, what's on your mind and heart today? But besides circuses.
Circus, traveling circuses. Yeah, similarly. And also, I would say getting to be here with you in person another time, which is fun. We talked about today maybe doing like a monthly in-person session, which really makes me happy as well. So that'll now be on my heart and mind with excitement.
Like
anticipation.
Anticipatory excitement.
Exactly. Not anxiety. Anticipatory excitement.
That's right.
I like it.
We men are much better about thinking that what could be construed as anxiety is excitement.
Oh,
I feel
like that can make sense. You know why I bet that is? Because we're so concerned with relationships as women that like a lot of what happens in the world that is anxiety provoking for us is relational. And so for men who don't care as much about that, they just care about the like doing the thing. That means that like mostly what they base their anxiety off of is if they have the confidence to do the thing ahead of them. Whereas for us, we're like thinking about all the things that could go wrong relationally, which we don't have control over. And so that would make it easier for us to label it as anxiety.
I like that. I think that, you can't control people and how they're going to respond and all the things.
Can't.
It's tough out here.
It's tough caring about people. So hard caring about relationships. Fair, actually true. But anyway, especially in today's world, like actually shit's on fire. So it is kind of tough to care.
It really is. Yeah. And then fucking these bozos, not all bozos, but there's a few bozos on Love Island right now that are...
Yes. Okay. Right. Bringing us to topic. Thank you for that. Because yes, indeed, there is some anxiety-provoking content going on there. And like just real heartfelt, sad things. Sad. I feel sad about it.
Yeah.
And like a lot of it is really deeply rooted in misogyny and racism and sexism. And that's awful. So we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
Why don't we just jump right the fuck in with talking about the heart rate challenge?
My favorite challenge. But didn't they used to not do it as couples? Correct. I like that better. I really do, because it's more interesting. Yeah. I think that way.
There were way too many people on that bench.
Yeah. I think that maybe because of what they did in Casa More, that's a really good point. They had to do it this way because they would have gone on for 3 hours.
Oh my God,
I watched those 3 hours.
Of heart rate challenge. Well, they edited it down. So it's fun. But yeah, no, basically historically, and the whole point of this challenge every year is that they hook themselves up to like a reader, their like respond, whatever the fuck it's called, that reads their heart rate. And typically what happens is all the women line up in the back and all of the men sit on the bench, and the women one by one come out and dance in these, provocative outfits. They dance for the men and like kind of get on their lap a little bit. And then each one of them goes one by one. While one of them's going, the rest of them are still in the back, or they go up on the balcony to watch. And then they flip, and the women go sit on the bench, and the men go one by one, and then they rate who has the highest, who got your heart rate going the highest of all the women. If you're a dude, who got your heart rate going the highest? This year they did them in pairs, so the couple would go up together and perform for the entire group. It wasn't just one gender. And so, in some ways, by the way, that's like more gender inclusive. But at the same time, we know how heteronormative this, so it doesn't really matter. It's still binary. But that, in some ways, I liked it, because in some ways I like the idea that what would happen with it when it was individuals is that like then the other person in a couple would be pissed off at like how that person did when they did it by themselves, and this way they can't really complain about it. Yeah. But the downside, like we're saying, is like, one, it meant every single fucking person was on that bench, which is way too many people. Number two, there was like no dancing. They basically just like went and sat on people's laps and made out.
Yeah. Which is fine, but
that is fine. But then it got complicated too, like because then everyone's kissing Sierra, so they don't upset her by kissing Nick. But then and then also a couple, sometimes I like this, that like a couple might grab a third person and bring them out. There's something called like bringing them to the heart, which was new this season, where there was like a heart stand in the middle of the floor where people first come out to as a couple to like do their little thing to start out. And they
somebody call a doctor or whatever.
Yeah, they have like little one-liners. Yeah, we're also very lacking.
Amaya was the only one who was killing it for me.
Yeah, she was great.
So much. It was fun to see her just have a great time.
He was a star for this, for sure. It was really great. And then so like a couple might bring a third person out to the heart and like dance on them or whatever. A lot of times what happened was like a couple would bring another couple to the heart stand and then like flip. So like the guy would dance on the girl and the girl would dance on the guy from the other couple. And that happened a lot. So that's relevant to what we're then going to tell you happened. That's the challenge, is what it is. They competed as couples, large cast. Everyone kissed Sierra to avoid Nick. Many couples grabbed another couple to bring them out. Okay, so
Sierra, do you feel like it became the thing where women, if they were like down to kiss women, were like, it was like the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know how to feel about it.
Yeah. It was a both and. Like at first I thought it was like, okay, anybody who's like, I like kissing girls, but they're like not actually bi, was like, well, I want to kiss Sierra. She's so hot. Everyone says she's a good kisser. We know she's bi because she's openly bi. So there was a part of me that thought that at first. I was like, that's just like annoying at this point. But then it also made me realize like, but they're also doing that so they don't kiss Nick. Like if they're moving around the bench, they could like be with her instead of Nick, and then they don't upset Sierra because they're not with Nick. So I also thought that like maybe she was like the way to like do that couple as a girl.
Yeah.
So that you don't piss her off by going with Nick.
Which that makes sense from the rules that were implicit but not stated.
Yeah.
Cause drama.
Exactly. So that could have been to like give them a nice thing, to give them an out. That could have been a part of it. But yeah, it did start to feel a little like gimmicky.
Yeah.
Or like, and then also again, sort of like making light of being bi, or like, you know, like making it cheap.
Right.
Cheapening.
Which it's not. It's not. It's not like, oh, we're all just bi. Like it's an identity. It's a way of moving through the world. It's all sorts of things. I don't know.
Exactly. And it's not also just to get men's heart rate up.
Right.
Which is like the whole problem. Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's
the whole
it.
behind it.
Read.
Yeah, exactly. So not a fan of that part of it. And then the other thing that was sort of interesting was like, how did power couples handle it? And so I'm thinking of the power couples now, and I'd be interested in what you think. But I think of the power couples as Chelly and Ace and Sierra and Nick.
Yes, I agree. I think that Ace and Chelly might stay together because they've gone this far, and what are they going to do now? But there were definitely some riffs this week where I was like, and some moments where he shut down, where I was like, yep. And I think she's probably seeing that and is like, sure about this guy. Here's the thing about I saw much quicker because maybe of the way she moves through the world.
Or the way he treated her so egregiously.
Yes. To be clear, it's not her fault. But because he could maybe be like, oh, you this, she got the bullshit sooner than Chelly got it.
He thinks of himself as so much more powerful than Amaya, like objectively.
Yes.
Whereas with Chelly, he wanted to impress her more. Yeah.
But it still came out.
No, it's so messy. I have so much to say about that.
Can't wait.
Yeah. No, I have major issues with the way that he's handled actually all of the things we're going to talk about today. So
he can fuck right off.
Exactly. So that was of interest, is like how they handled it, both of them. Like Nick and Sierra as a power couple grabbed Iris and TJ, and they went and made out with the opposite of that couple, and they were like cutesy together, and like they're kind of like a quad, those four. They're cute. Yeah. And like Sierra very seriously said that if she was going to have a throuble, it would be with Iris. So like that was a very serious, she meant that. Yeah, exactly. It's so, like they're really stoked on that, which was really cute. So they had like a cute little quad. Ace and Sierra and Chelly went and took Amaya, who comes back into this to play a few times. She's the one who's like young in life experience, early in life experience, but also tons of trauma, Hispanic woman who has been labeled as someone who cries a lot, but just is somebody who has strong emotions. And as a Hispanic woman and Latina woman, she would be more expressive with her emotions than folks who are not. Something that has not been brought up explicitly, that is a fucking problem, because that's just going to come back into it too. Anyway, so they bring her and they like have a 3-way kiss with her, and she's very cute about it and like fun and playful and stuff. Meanwhile, though, Chelly also kisses Chris, who's the guy that she made out with in Casa Amor, and was like semi-dating Casa Amor, and then she goes back and kisses him again.
She does.
Meanwhile, Ace is like going through and like making out and dancing on everybody. And so this is like an element that comes back to play into their conversation a little bit later. But the other biggest, perhaps the biggest event that happens during Huda and Chris's turn. So remember, Chris is Chelly's boyfriend from Casa Amor, who came back with Huda because otherwise he would have gone home. So he was with Huda to come, and Huda felt like this was it for Chelly's sake, that she brought Chris, but she also likes Chris. So Huda and he are paired. They went and took, when it was Chris and Huda's turn, they went and took Ace and Chelly and brought them to the heart, and Chris made out with Chelly a third time, and Huda got on top of Ace.
Third time.
That
was a good
yes. So they are dancing on their respective partners, but then Chris and Chelly get up to sort of like be respectful they're done, and Huda is still on top of Ace. It seems like it went on for much longer than we even saw, because she had a change of position. She was then like reverse cowgirl on him, and there was like a whole other configuration of people around the bench that changed. So suddenly Amaya was standing. When they had to actually stop, we see Amaya's now standing and saying something, which we didn't see. The men have all changed position as well. And then after Huda is done reverse cowgirl dancing on Ace, we then also see the men saying, including Pepe, saying this seems like more than a challenge. And for them to say that, like what we saw, you wouldn't say that about.
Yeah.
So clearly something happened that we didn't see. And so like the men were all remarking to each other, that's clearly more than a challenge. So this is a theme that happens in these challenges. It's just a challenge. You're allowed to make out with whomever. It's just a challenge. It's not just a challenge. We can all just agree. Nothing's just a challenge. No. Like there are different expectations for challenges, but these are still people's feelings and hearts and mouths and bodies. Right. Boundaries still matter.
Right. And everyone is crossing boundaries. And so then to be like, you cross the boundary too hard is confusing. It's not so clear cut.
No.
And everyone's horned up. Like,
too.
Like, let's be honest, they're having an orgy pretty much. Like that is an orgy situation. And so, yeah, maybe Huda was like having a good time, maybe a little more than what Chelly was comfortable with.
Right.
However, to the way that then Chelly treated Huda as like it felt slut shamey to me. It felt like, and also like, where's Ace's role in this?
Yes.
Like he was enthusiastically enjoying the situation.
Yes.
And so Huda, I think, has been getting mixed messages. She's being told that she should be more fun, more open, more casual. And this is a part of her that is fun. Like she likes to dance. She likes to do all that kind of stuff. And was having
use her body. Exactly. And people think she's hot, and she is hot.
Yeah.
Like, she gets attention and respect for that, and like people are like hollering for her, like excited for her usually.
Right.
And I think in this case, it was like people decided just this one time she went too far with Ace. So like the fallout basically with Chelly in the moment was already clearly pissed off at Huda for how that was going. She tells us in the direct camera, like, she went way too far. I would never have done that with Jeremiah. Yada yada yada. And so then obviously then the rest of the challenge, Huda's trying to like get eye contact with Chelly to make sure they're cool, and Chelly won't do it. It's like super uncomfortable. Huda's trying to say to Chelly, it's just a challenge, you know, and it's sort of like, yeah, in the case she's trying to say like, this is what we all do, right? And that's fair. Nothing is just a challenge. To be fair, that's not an okay expression in general, but Huda's point is not that really. Her point is like, this didn't mean anything. And I believe that. And I think that Huda is nowhere near a threat to Chelly. So like the bigger issue is that the fact Chelly's so upset with her says more about Chelly feeling like she's a threat, which says more about Ace than it does about Huda. Yeah. You know, if you think he can get his head turned by Huda, yeah. So I just feel like there's so many. So I totally agree. I think that Chelly's point, which is that Huda, when she was with Jeremiah for challenges, expected and hoped the other woman wouldn't make out with him during the challenges. And they respected that. And then after they didn't make out with him in a challenge, Huda would say to them, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. By the way, the fact she would even thank them so emphatically says to me she was worried and she feels insecure. Like she is someone who was insecure and worried someone could turn Jeremiah's head if they made out with him during a challenge. That's why she was like that about it. Chelly has never expressed that to anybody or made it seem at all like she was worried or insecure about it. So it is a different expectation right there. And so Chelly's point is like, you set this expectation about Jeremiah. Why can't you respect it when it comes to me? And so I feel like while I understand that in theory, first of all, the expectations set up are different. You both are different women. You are in tons of power, Chelly, in ways that Huda has never been. Yes. And then on top of that, you as a human in the world are much more secure than Huda is in the world as a person. Yes. And so the idea is that like, okay, sure, let's say you're right about your perspective. Then how you treat Huda is so unnecessary. Like she is already seen as like the bottom of the barrel in the house. And to treat someone like that when you have all the power repeatedly for hours and days is such a like, to me, shows misuse of power. I love that. Because I think initially her feelings, sure. She was in her feelings. That was probably really hard to watch and probably brought up weird stuff for her with the Jeremiah thing. Right. Fair enough. Fair enough to even say, I will wait tomorrow. Yeah. But then it was until that postcard thing or whatever the fuck. And that was relational punishment in a way that was unfair to Huda in like so many ways. Ostracizing her. Yeah. That was, I think, where like, it's one thing to have feelings, but I think the inability to see the bigger picture and then to like double down so hard was tough to watch. Yeah. And I think it was sublimation of her anger with Ace. Yeah. And she put it all on Huda. I agree. And I think even Ace knew that there was a chance Chelly was also upset with him. Yep. Because he got into it. And Huda wouldn't have kept going if he wasn't into it. Yep. So he and Zen in a conversation with Chelly after Chelly's been pissed, not talking to Ace or to Huda for like, let's say 12 hours. So I think it's probably less than that. It was like 5 hours. After not talking to either of them, Ace pulls her aside and literally goes like this. He goes, listen, I understand that you might be upset because you think that like I looked like I was into it. I wasn't into it. I just looked like that because it's a challenge. And you know what? I'm upset with Huda too. I don't know what she was doing. She was way over the line. But here's where I'm upset because you went back and kissed Chris twice. So what he did was he took what he figured she was correctly angry with him about, quickly dispelled it as not a him thing. It's a Huda thing. I agree with you. Let's blame her, triangulate it. Let's make it her fault. Yeah. But then here's why I'm mad at you. So now you have to be on the defense and you have to try to fix it with me for my thing. Because my thing's serious. Your thing, I already addressed that. It doesn't matter. My thing matters. You went back to Chris. And the whole way he treated her, he was so condescending. I was impressed with Chelly for not taking it. Honestly, I think she did a good job sort of being like, huh? Like, really? Yeah. Like, okay. And then just walked away. Yeah. And I think that was good. So like, but the main point is like, he knew he was in the wrong because that's why he was like, here, let me just spell that real quick and make this about you. You're the problem. That is dangerous behavior from a significant other. Not okay.
I think, too, the reason that he was into it with Huda is because he was, for the first time, in a power down position with Chelly, because he was kind of laser focused on her, and she wanted to keep exploring that other guy.
Yes,
and he didn't
exactly.
like that.
No.
And so I think that was his way of trying to play the game that he plays of, I'm not that interested in you. And Huda was just in the moment, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe liked it a little bit. I don't know. Like, whatever.
Yeah. I would go one further to support Huda. If you watch at the beginning of them making out, she's holding Ace's head away from Chelly and Chris. And I actually, in the moment, thought Huda purposely chose Ace and Chelly, so that Chelly could get another chance to make out with Chris. And if Huda held Ace's head away from her, she could do whatever she wanted, and Ace would be distracted. And I honestly think it was intended that way at first. And then because Ace was showing interest back, he fell off the wagon. Like, she didn't want the rest of the way. She was having fun. She was feeling sexy. He was showing interest, which to Huda would say, okay, he knows Chelly won't be upset because if he's getting into it, we must be good.
We're good here.
Clearly, we're just having fun.
He's a good dancer. She's a good dancer.
Clearly, we're just having fun because otherwise he wouldn't show interest back in me because he'd be worried about Chelly.
Nailed it.
Right? So I honestly think, and like, sure, I get what Chelly's saying, that like sometimes Huda hides behind "this is for you," and I get that. That is totally fair. He does do that sometimes, but she doesn't actually have that intent. I believe. I believe she starts out with like, "this is to help Chelly," and like, there's a little self-interest in it, and she doesn't claim that right away. But like, I do think she thinks she's helping, and in the way that she was purposely holding his head, I just was like, that feels very intentional. Like, she's giving Chelly another chance with Chris. It's just that then it went to, and then she just like got into it. And I think it became like a show to her because everyone was just sort of like reacting. And I don't think she realized it was negatively until people were probably like, you're going to stop, right? Like, they probably had to be pretty explicit.
Weird. Yeah. And she took a guy back to the house knowing that he liked Chelly more than her.
And they agreed it was for Chelly. We saw them make an agreement together. So this is the only way he gets to stay is if we have him come back with me.
So like, let's give her some grace here. My goodness.
I know. And that comes up in the next challenge, which we will now talk about maybe. Is there anything else you would say about that? I guess my main like final word on it is like Chelly, where she might have been in the right to a degree. The way she treated Huda was not somebody who has power with grace. Like, you have to hold power with grace in a way that like, of course you can have strong reactions and absolutely be upset, even 24 hours. But then to keep, like you said, punishing her, ostracizing her, it just shows like actually more insecurity in your position of power. And it also it gives like Mean Girl and just like a way that's like, if you have that kind of power, you have a responsibility, and you have a responsibility to model for other people how to treat people with kindness. And when Huda is so clearly in the down position, that's treating someone who has no power like dirt. And she already feels like she's the dirt under your shoe. She feels that way already about herself. So you don't need to make her feel like that. It just is like, so the way she looked at Huda when Huda tried to talk to her that night, the way she looked at her like, okay, we're done. Like, I just was like, oh no, you don't need to do that. She's already so, and like, just to address the Huda thing in general, like, people are like, she's so not a girl's girl. Like, I don't trust her. Like, Huda, as somebody who has not had many friends who are girls, also doesn't know what she's doing. And so like, it's like people are it's like chicken or egg thing. They're like, of course she doesn't have girlfriends because look how untrustworthy she is. How is she going to learn what that looks like if she hasn't had friends that are girls? It's like
she's a single fucking mother from a very young age.
Exactly.
Like, she's got a lot going on.
What she learned was how to keep men's attention, and that was a way of keeping power, which is absolutely something women learn. It's just that was where that stopped, and she didn't quite learn the rest of it, which is like the part that's different. It's just another part of it. And if you don't learn that part, that's where you're stuck. And absolutely all of us were that girl in middle school, high school, whatever level it was before we learned how to become women's women. Like, that just is how it goes. And so she's a little bit stunted in that way. She probably went through a shit ton of trauma. Having a child at young is a trauma. So like, the fact we're giving her such a hard time for a thing that she also needs to have to know how to do it. Right. Which she's learning from the show. We watch her learning. She's trying. She's absolutely trying.
Oh, I just got chills. That's very true. It's like if you're a woman and you have ever liked men, you know that thing. And she's hopefully going to learn from this and get better and do better. Right. But I think Chelly is self-aware enough to maybe, I don't know. I think she knows and she doesn't know. Yeah. And she's stuck in her feelings. And maybe she's tired because she's been there a while. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And again, I think she doesn't trust Ace, which is really what it comes down to. But she can't really hold his feet to the fire because it's not totally his fault. And so she's just sort of like in this like stuck position sort of. Yeah. And I think that makes it tough. And he is so condescending. It's so gross. Like, just Anyway. So that's sort of the deal on that, I think. Yeah. What a rich challenge, right? Like,
Can I say something about
Please, anything.
Nicolandria? For all my Nicolandria people out there, I have been following the social media so hard because I'm glad to know that I'm part of a community.
Yes, there's a whole group, a whole culture.
With this ship, as the kids say. We're, here's what I think, and I'm going to say it. I think that Alandria is actually not that into Nick.
No.
I do think that Nick is into Alandria.
Yes.
And I think if Alandria that next day when they were talking, if she would have been like, I'm into this, I want to keep going, I think things would have looked different. Yeah. I think he read her and maybe read her when they were going to bed that night and stuff. And it was like, she's still hung up on.
Yeah, she kept coming back to Taylor.
Yeah, the worst guy in the world, by the way. Fuck that guy.
I'm not sure what she's telling him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, you know what? I think I realized they're a mismatch because she is a more serious person than he is.
Yeah.
And that's where the mismatch is.
He's also very, again, young in life experience, early life experience. I think she's had to grow up a lot faster. And she said, she's had to be tough. She's had to be non-emotional because she's been through a lot of shit and she's had to be the strong one. And he just hasn't had that. That's just not. And not to say he hasn't been through racial trauma because he absolutely has, but his need to grow up faster is just not on it. He even said that he's feel like a kid with Clark, which by the way, I disagree with Alandria about that. I feel like you can be 40 and be a kid. I think we all have.
I agree. Yeah. I think she was.
Yeah. She just was kind of coming for whatever he said, which is fair.
Yeah.
She was sort of like, whatever you're going to say, I'm going to come. And then that's fair because she finally got to, because I think she had been holding it up this whole time. I know. That. Finally let out some of her frustration with him, which is so valid.
It was like,
her feelings with him. Yeah.
But because she's been so poised about it. It's like, oh my God, but let's get mad at this guy and stop pursuing him because fuck this guy.
Yeah.
He's not worthy of you.
Exactly. At all. And I loved it the way she was like, the feelings have always been about your feelings. So for once, fuck your feelings. Or it's always been fuck my feelings. So for once, fuck your feelings. Yes. Tell him.
Go,
I love it.
Girl. I think Nick might have gone for it. I think he likes Sierra. I'm not sure. I think how much love she's getting from the show will make him like her more. But I wonder when he sees this whole Nicolandria ship thing, what will happen. I don't know. Because I think I don't know, maybe in 10 years he's going to be like, I'm Polly. I can see. Right. I can also see him being a little bi. Yeah. He gives bi guy energy for me.
Yeah. But he also gives people pleaser. Yeah. Also what you're hitting on, which is people liking her is going to make him like her more. He's definitely a people pleaser. Yeah. A little bit chameleon-y. I will also say will not stand up for Ace, for example, to Ace, for example, even when he disagrees with him. Yeah. But I was also going to say, I also felt like there was this moment on his date with Sierra where she gave him such a softball and he didn't take it, low ball, whatever the fuck expression is, where they were joking. He's pouring champagne and he goes, oh, this is the date of my dreams. And she goes, oh, she's like, look at us go. And then she goes, are you saying I'm the girl of your dreams? Which is such a great moment for him to be like, of course. All he has to do is that. My husband and I were talking about this, and I know what he would do. He'd be like, of course you are. I always mean that. He would pick up quickly and just and we jive about it. And even if it's not, but of course he'd mean it. But even if he didn't, we would jive, whatever. Yeah. And Nick literally goes, while pouring. I was like, whoa, that is cold. If I was here, I'd be like, so I'm not. And so we're good here, right? Because that just is such a signal. I was thinking at first, I rewatched it because I was like, maybe they spliced it, but they didn't. That was really what was happening in that moment. He literally was like, when she was like, so are you saying I'm the girl of your dreams? And she's being playful. And he didn't even look up at her. And I just was like, I don't know. So to your point, does he like her? I did have a moment where I was like, is this for the show? I don't know what we're doing here. Because I feel like if he really did care, that was such a wonderful moment to show her how much she means, I think he's a bit of a sub boy, and I think Alandria is kind of gives Dom energy. Yeah. So there's something between them where the chemistry between them was much strong. Yeah. And I think Sierra, beautiful, sexy, amazing, intelligent woman. I don't know. I think she had Dom energy when he first fell for her. Yes. If you think about the day she came out. She was like, let's go. Yeah, you're so right. She came out and sexual, they made her entrance be sexual to come get them while they were on the X or whatever, while they were up in their thing. And he said that too. He's like, when I saw her, I was like, oh my God. It's because she was a commanding. Yeah, in a Dom position.
Maybe he just wants a mamacita.
He wants a mamacita, but not a mom.
Yes. And here's what I'll say about the heart rate challenge. Alandria didn't actually do anything with him. He did something with her. He fucking ate her foot. which was I actually like. I'm not into foot thing, but I was like,
yeah.
But
it was the only one who did something like that. It was very like spicy. Yeah.
It wasn't her favorite thing. Fair enough. But I wonder if Alondra would have done something to him, what would have happened?
Yeah. No,
but
fair.
It didn't happen.
That's fair. There was a message sent there too, including she was really sending a message to Taylor that he's her one and only. I will say, by the way, speaking of this, so like the whole point of the challenge is like whose heart rate do you get to go the most? To me, it is like so ghastly that no one is just naming the fact that just because someone's heart rate is raised the most doesn't mean it's because they find them sexy. It's like
could be anxiety,
deadly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Deadly uncomfortable. Like, no wonder Huda got Ace's heart rate up because that was an angry spot. Like, everyone was pissed, and he saw Chelly was pissed. So, of course, his heart rate got high. Plus, it was like 20 minutes of her being on his lap or whatever. Yeah. But, like, it definitely, like, anybody, the fact not one person said, maybe these aren't just because of the sexual heart increase. I just was like, hi, heart rate increasing is like 5 different reasons that could be happening. Right. And almost everybody that they said that about was that because of anxiety-provoking things. Like everyone that they were like, oh, this person had this person, that person. It's like, because that was anxiety provoking. Like, that sounds like that was awful. So yeah, I just was shocked that no one could mention that. It's like fucking ridiculous. So I think the fact that like Huda was proud that she got Ace's heart rate up, I kind of was like, I don't know if I would take the win on that one.
They looked into it. I will say with Taylor and Alondra, I wasn't sure that it was connecting, or maybe I felt anxious because I was like, fuck this, bro.
No, for you. I definitely think that he was anxious about her because of Clark.
Yeah. And the way then the slut shaming continued, because then he was like, oh, I don't know why she did that. Like, fuck you. There's a good reason. Lon and her had a plan. She wanted to exact her revenge. She was well within her rights. And like, fuck him. I don't know. The way he played it with Clark, I didn't like. I didn't like it, like the disrespect for her. Yeah. He didn't even pull her that we saw after he picked Clark. Like, he sucks.
Yeah, he's like doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He has no clue. He basically doesn't know anything about anything, and like so he'll get told by the men sometimes to like do a certain thing, and then he'll do it. But otherwise, he just like does not make any decisions for himself. He doesn't know what he wants. Honestly, I think the Clark thing, like he said, it's just because he had a feeling. I think it was like new and shiny, and that's really the feeling he had. And I like Clark, and I don't mean to disrespect him that way at all. But there's something about like he doesn't even know how much of his interest is just because she's new. He can't really tease that apart. So. Yeah, he doesn't know what he wants, and Alondra needs somebody who's more aware of their body and what they want.
They're not a fit. When they kissed, I kind of was like,
no, they're not meant for each other. They never were.
Nope.
So why don't we move into talking about heart? No, that was the first one. Second part was Airing Dirty Laundry Challenge.
Yes.
And I'll just do the quickest recap is just that they had this challenge where they wrote little postcards to each other. They were allowed to sign their name or not, and they were supposed to clear the air of all the drama that they still felt for each other. And meanwhile, this was like during the Cold War of Chelly and Huda. So clearly some of it was to target that conversation, which just, Chelly said, we'll talk tomorrow. And Huda was like, okay, I'm going to let you decide. And then Chelly never reinitiated it. And Huda was like, I'm not going to initiate it if you don't want to initiate it. Yeah. But during that time, Huda was also acknowledging to us, to everyone else, I get that I did something wrong. I'll never do it again. And even Nick took her aside to like tell her what she did wrong and was surprised to find out she already knew and was taking accountability. So there's that whole thing that happens sidebar. But still, Chelly would not have a conversation with her. So during the postcard challenge, one of the things that happened right away, I honestly was crying. I was crying during this. So Amaya Papaya, who's like, we've talked about, early in life experience and can be like a little bit obnoxious, I suppose. She's also like sweet baby angel, very innocent, clearly has not the first clue about a lot of stuff yet, just learning about life and people and relationships and ways of being, and very funny, very caring. She cares about everybody.
All the fucks.
She doesn't have any enemies really, like on her side of things, doesn't really have any enemies. She's very sweet. So she has her turn and she goes up there, and the first card was something funny about snoring that Chris wrote, and that was cute and funny. Yeah. She reads the next one and she goes, you cried more than needed and you come on too strong. And she tries not to cry during this, which, by the way, everyone's like, don't cry. It's like, she can cry if she fucking wants, by the way.
I hate when people say that. You look too pretty.
Yeah, you're too beautiful to cry. That was Huda said that. I was like, no, not helpful. And by the way, if she wants to cry, she can. She said, it's not my fault. I'm a sensitive gangster, which I love. And Nick was like, yeah, I get it. Which I loved Nick's perspective on it. Totally agree. Build her up. And also like, she can be emotional if she wants. By the way, as we mentioned, she's Latina and Hispanic, and there is more emotional expressiveness among those cultures, period, end of story. That is something that's been shown over and over again. It's a cultural difference. So before it gets to that part that Brian also brings up about something else being cultural difference, she's sort of referring to that. She's like, listen, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, period. Yeah, and then Austin,
that was fair.
Exactly. That's the best way to put that. Yeah. Austin owns he was the one who wrote it. And he says, like, it just was at the beginning and it felt like you were coming on strong. And she was like, okay, like fair. And like, I'm not everybody's tea. That's where that should have fucking stopped.
Yep.
Instead, Ace goes, stop. He stops her while she's speaking. Like talk about power hungry person. He stops her while she's speaking, goes, stop. And then lays into her. This is how you were with me, saying, babe this, babe that, da 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 da. And she's like, okay. She's taking it in. She's crying her.
Like, what do you say?
Oh, poor sweet girl, just sitting there, like, just taking it in, like, trying not to cry. And then Brian jumps in and says, hey, coming from a Hispanic family, like, we say mi amor, mi vida, like, we say that. So, like, that's just meeting her halfway. You should have too. I did meet her halfway. Ace, how did you meet her halfway? What was one thing you did that met her halfway? I didn't see it. I felt like he berated her the whole time they were together and told her what she was doing wrong, including taking her back aside multiple times to tell her why he didn't like her and didn't want to be with her. So I felt like that was not fair at all. He like really does berate her. She's like holding it together. She's like, okay, well, thank you. Yeah. And then Zach with a K, it was so bad. She's like, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And then Zach K, her like current guy, British model, whatever, jumps in too and also says his piece.
Unbelievable.
I loved how she was like, listen, you had all the chance to say that over there. And he goes, I did say that over there. Okay, then why are you saying it now? You've already said it. You don't need to say it in front of everyone. She's like, I feel like you're just ping-ponging now. And in fact, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Good for her. I really loved that. So I thought she did her best to handle that. But then eventually she just sort of was like, I can't do this right now. Okay. And she starts to walk away. And just on my heart, bro, I just was bawling, just watching her just like fall into Sierra's arms. First of all, Sierra goes to go get her, and Ace goes with her. Why? Why Ace?
Reminded me of white fragility. It was not white fragility. He is a black man. Let me be very clear. Yeah. He perceived that Brian, was like, this is a Hispanic thing. Yeah. And he was like, this might look bad, or this might make me look bad.
Fix it. Yeah.
And I'm going to go fix it. Because why the fuck else would he?
No. Honestly, here's what I imagine he would have done. He would have gone to her and been like, listen, I know this is hard, but here's all the problems with you. Yeah. Like, he would have just gone double down and been like, here's all the things that I meant by that, which is so fucked. And like, so I loved Sierra was like, you may not, you may sit. Yeah. You may not. And I really loved the way Sierra handled it. I loved her speech to her. I just was like, oh my God, like, thank God for Sierra. And I felt like Nick felt the same way Sierra did, and he didn't stand up for her because no one stands up to Ace, which comes up to her second piece there. But just the way people ganged up on her was so unnecessary. No part of that was helpful data. No part of that was new feedback to her. No part of that was helpful or constructive in any way. No, and like, it was just mean. Yep. And again, going for a low target, like she's already down, it's like, why? And Ace with all this power, why use your power to put down somebody who's already in a down one position? It's gross.
It's totally gross. And she has been used as a pawn, and like he used her. That's the real problem. Not that she says babe. He used her to advance the Chelly game. And then Austin kind of used her too, to a lesser extent.
I think he started out maybe liking her, but then he stuck it out because he was using her to keep going. Exactly. And that's why I didn't tell her he didn't like her right away. But I do also hear him that he wasn't sure yet at first. Yeah. But so then Ace uses Amaya a fucking again.
Yeah.
Unreal fucking real-time things happen here so then when it's Ace's turn, he gets up, he gets his mail out of the mailbox, he goes up there, and the first thing he reads is and it straight up says in it even says, this is from Austin. Yeah. So Austin stood by it, said what he wanted to say, and he says in it, it feels like you have the Ace posse, nobody goes against you, and that you're that you like what it seemed like Jeremiah couldn't do right. He couldn't do he damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, which was great because this is something, by the way, all of us have been thinking about Jeremiah, and Austin said that without getting any feedback from the outside. Like, he just thought that on his own, what we've all been thinking, which is that Ace targeted him, didn't like him, and damned if he did, damned if he didn't. And so Ace literally goes, before I answer this, what do you mean by that? Already a problem. Yeah. Already, like, he said it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he literally said what happened.
Pretty clear. Yep. Pretty fucking clear. And so Austin clearly says back to him, well, I'm just talking about the beginning with Jeremiah. It seemed like you gave him a really hard time, and then it seemed like he couldn't do right by you. You are a strong leader. He says this is a positive thing he says about Ace. You're a strong leader, and it feels like people can't stand up to you. And by the way, during that, Taylor's sort of like, huh? Come on, Taylor. Have you ever stood up to Ace? No. And Nick didn't look like that. Nick kind of seemed to get it, by the way. Yeah. But they're having those facial reactions, and Austin is standing by his word. He's standing up by his name. Ace goes, just because I stand by what I say doesn't mean that I'm like in the wrong. You don't. He's like, you don't stand by what you say. Basically, like calling Austin out for being weak or like not standing by his word. What did he just do, sir? He literally wrote his name on the note to you, and he's standing up for what he said right now in this moment. And he literally comes for Austin in such a mean way. His facial reaction is just the way that it just felt so mean and also like very defensive also at the same time, even though he's saying like he has all this power and feels so strong. It's like he then refers to himself. He's like, just because I'm a leader and da-da-da. Like, it was like, wow, the way Austin put you as a leader was so much nicer. Like, the way you just used it like in a negative way. It makes you look like a dick that you just said that like that. And the way Austin put it was actually being quite nice. And now you're coming for Austin, saying he's so terrible, saying nothing about the fact that Posse doesn't ever stand up to you, because they don't. There's no wiggle room there, which is what Austin tries to say, but gets cut off because he's doing the thing right then. And then he fucking uses Amaya, and he goes, and what do you mean? First of all, wait, you know what he did first? He goes, Andreina, do you think that Jeremiah was coming on strong to you at the beginning? And she's like, yeah, but like, she liked it, by the way. They were enjoying each other's company. They both liked each other, but that doesn't come out. He stops her right there and he goes, there it goes again, my point about him love bombing. There it goes again, my point. You called that up. Like, you know what I mean? There it goes again. Like, you asked for that to be defended just there. And then also, like, what does that mean about anything? So then he says that, and then he goes, and just so you know, like, I tell everyone how it is, whereas you didn't tell Amaya anything about what you were feeling. And Austin was like, because I wasn't feeling that way yet. I was telling you my full emotions, and I wasn't ready yet to tell her. Well, you didn't tell her anything. You're telling us one thing and her not. And then so then that gets Amaya activated, who's like, you didn't tell me anything. That's true. Like, how come? Yeah. And so sure enough, Ace is now using Amaya to start a fight between Austin and Amaya, which does start. And Ace literally gets to stand back and go like this and walk away at the end of it.
And to be fair, they went to Casa more. So before they could actually have a chance to be like, I don't know if this is...
Here's the thing I don't like about us, or like, here's where I want to...
And and then it kind of resolved itself because Amaya had someone new. Austin had someone new. And by the way, he shared it with her to the best of his ability in that challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing, is they already had their conversation just now tonight done. Yeah. Like... And just the way that he used that, and uses like something about Austin, which is like, what are you doing? Like, it's such a diversion tactic, just like he did with Chelly when he was like, well, you went back to Chris, so it's not me and Huda, it's you and Chris. It's like, well, you and Amaya didn't have your full conversation, so it's not about me and Jeremiah. Yes, it is. Irrelevant data.
Yep.
I just felt like that was such tyrannical. Like, it just felt like very dictatorship-y, like, and just again misuse of power. And I just feel like the way that he and Chelly have so much power to begin with, these moments make it feel like it's actually quite fragile for them, or like it just again shows he's playing the game, right? Like, he cares so deeply about staying in the power position because he wants to win. But it's like, that is behavior that turns me off. You know, like, I wouldn't vote for him to win after how he handled that.
I think people are turned off.
Yeah, me too.
The only couple that people seem to like right now is Nick and Sierra. But then there's a whole subset of the population, myself included, that are Nicolandria people. I'm not sure about Nick and Sierra. I think they might work on the outside, kind of like Kenny and Janae. I don't actually ever think Kenny liked Janae.
Yeah, and that's why they still don't live together.
Yeah, exactly. It never, but I think she was such a fan favorite that he was like, this is a good train for me to hop on.
And he did get Burge, or whatever. He got to bask in reflective glory. Like, we did like him more because he was with Janae, and she deserved somebody. Fuck's sake,
better than him.
Sorry, fairly true. Very true. That is fair of you to say. Very true. Not fairly true. Fair and true.
Yes.
And I would say, like, again, like Chelly too, I just want to see her do so much better. And like, now that I don't know if it's because of how things are with Ace, but like, I think it's an ugly side of her that her use of power is not more generous. It's almost like, it's like thinking about like Princess Diana, right? It's like people in power who use power for good, or like are aware of the fact that they have so much power that like you don't need to reiterate that you have so much power. Like Princess Diana didn't go around wearing princess dresses. You know what I mean? Like she was able to use her power for good and like help people who need it without having to like reestablish that she was a princess. And I feel like that's the thing with like Chelly, where it's like, if you can stand in your power and do good by Huda, like she's saying like, I've given you so many chances and then you bite me here. So like, I'm done. It's like, the thing is, part of why Huda is in a down one position the way she is because she doesn't realize she's biting people at all. Like she doesn't know she's doing it. So like, yeah, maybe it takes 3-4 times of her biting you for you to realize that she's doing it, but never once was it intentional. She's not trying to hurt you. She can't even tell what she's doing. So it's just sort of like, I don't know. And by the way, there are things I do still have issues with Huda about.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed it. She called Chris brother at one point when she was upset with him. She's like brother. And I was like, no.
Not for you.
Yeah, not for you to say that about him. And especially angry and behind his back.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. And I think there are moments where she makes it about, which doesn't help her case with fans, that she makes it sometimes about the competition with Chelly, where she was like, well, she doesn't like that I'm the one who brought him in. It's like, you brought him in kind of for her. So it's not fair to use that now as like an indication that he liked you more, because he did it, frankly.
No.
And so like there are moments where I'm sort of like, yeah, I get why that's tough. And I also feel like, again, she doesn't realize what she's doing. Right. You know, she's just like in a position of sort of like falling back on old tropes of like women competing or like showing that like they're hot shit or whatever it might be that she's relying on. Which, by the way, to our point earlier, sorry, I'm just ranting about it. To our point earlier when we were saying like women learn how to, our first lesson is how to get men's attention. Mm-hmm. Also, all of culture teaches us that. Right. Like, that's what we watch in every movie, every TV show. So like that is, she's inundated in that. So like, of course, that's what she knows first and strongest. And so like for her to be getting shit for stuff that we don't learn from TV and movies, we don't learn to be women's women from that. We have to learn that from life, you know, because frankly, we're always pit against each other to fight for reduced resources because we're in a patriarchy. Mm-hmm. So like, it gets frustrating when women hold each other to that in a way that's like, so where was she supposed to learn that if she didn't learn that she was mothering a child during some of the formative years when y'all would have learned it, you know? Mm-hmm.
And she is, I believe, like an ethnic minority. Yep. I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
And also like, a young single mother. Like she is in a lot of down positions where she probably feels like she has to prove herself in all sorts of ways. That is that cannot be easy.
No, exactly. And I honestly get the sense that she might have been bullied. I think, you know, like I think she might have been, I think she's recently discovered her hotness. Like that's what it feels like. And I think so as somebody who recently discovered her hotness, of course her fascination right now is with getting men's attention.
Sure.
You know, it's like part of what it sets up as a heteronormative society. And she even said to us early on, this is exciting that I have new girlfriends. Like I've never really had that. Like how beautiful is that? I know.
Like you said, she in no way wants to hurt Chelly.
No,
not even a little bit.
No, exactly. And the fact Chelly can't, like, it says more about Chelly that she's worried, like, what? That Huda's going to turn Ace's head? Like, are you really worried about that? Because, like, if you are, that's an Ace issue, not a Huda issue, you know? But she doesn't think she can stand to Ace on that. At the same time, again, I am impressed she does stand to Ace on certain things. And I really appreciate that of their dynamic. I would worry because he definitely is manipulative. You can see it.
He is. It's he does have leadership characteristics. And I think what Austin said is a positive about him.
Yeah, strong leader.
But it's like you can use that power for good or for less good.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something for him to look at.
Exactly.
As he ages. And I think he'll see this show and he'll reflect on his behavior and hopefully that will cause him to see things differently.
I hope so too. I found out recently he has a huge number of followers, like had it going in.
Oh, wow.
I think maybe related to his dancing or something. I think there's something about his self-assuredness. I mean, a part of it is like he talks about being very self-assured about his height and he just clearly isn't. Like clearly that is a thing he's been fighting with for a long time. And I mean, 5'10" is fucking fine. Like, I don't know. It sucks that that's even an issue, but like we are such a height focused society and that sucks for him, especially as a dancer. It actually helps him to be the height he is. I mean, whatever, you know, it's
absolutely.
So it's like a bummer that is such a focus, but it clearly is. And it clearly is getting in the way. It's like a little bit of a thing where it's like he has to grasp so strong to the power he gets because it does feel precarious to him. Like he could at any minute lose it to somebody who's 6'4". Hence the focus on Jeremiah's height and then his own height, which we brought up early on, by the way. I was like, I feel like he's particularly threatened by Jeremiah because Jeremiah got the girl right away and is taller.
And is also a Black man.
And well-liked. Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway, I guess this conversation has been all about power and not like ganging up on sweet baby angels who are just trying the best they can.
Right. It's not cool.
Even if they are annoying or even if they are making bad decisions. It's like there's such a better way to teach Huda than that, you know, or like such a better way to help Amaya learn to use her emotion in a constructive way than that, you know. But certainly blaming somebody for something that's a cultural difference is wild.
And then following her the fuck
to then berate her more, I'm sure. You know, to like make sure everyone got your point.
Or that she got your point.
Yeah.
Not to apologize. Yeah. Certainly not.
Be like, see, you're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at his face when she was responding to him, she's tears in her eyes and she's like, okay, thank you for your support. Like feedback. If you look at his face, he looks still pissed. He like makes a face like, what? Like he does that.
He's like disgusted by emotion. It's pretty like even when Chelly had emotion towards him, you can feel his He's got some stuff to work through.
Yeah. And right, like Black culture has a lot of messaging around emotion, especially for men, but like for everybody, they all have messaging around like absolute not, like no emotion, don't show emotion. There's certain amount, like certain places for certain emotions, but like particularly sadness or grief even or whatever, that is seen as weak. And so like he in Black culture, so he has a very like stoic presentation and expects that from other people in a way that's unfair and like and also actually doing damage to himself and others. So for example, when he and Taylor hugged so unabashedly after Nick was evicted and then brought back, it was amazing. Like that was beautiful. That was a great moment because that's something that we wouldn't always see, particularly between two Black men. And so, and still we didn't really see him cry that much, or it's still like there were boundaries to like how much emotion he was willing to share. But yeah, it's not fair to hold Amaya to something that's your own, cultural influenced thing too, culturally influenced thing.
Yeah. Oh,
I know.
Amaya Papaya, we're sorry. You got shit on in the worst way. I cannot wait to watch tonight's episode.
So much is going down. And also just these challenges in general are so rich. Like a lot happened. And like, right, the heart rate challenge is something we see every year. But like it was interesting. Oh, by the way, the other thing I wanted to bring up about the producer antics is like the fact that they brought back basically everyone from Casa has brought about this new like group dynamic. Like we've never had that where like Casa has like a group of dudes from Casa that are now in the villa. Or it would have been in the previous seasons, it would have been a group of girls from Casa that were there and like a little bit of a group. And in this case, we have both because that'd be right. Either way, we'd be both. But in this case, it was the men that came back from Casa that are in a little bit of a group. And it's great. Like it's creating a new social experimental dynamic. I'm not sure if it's better yet or not, but the point is it's different. And I like that. And I like that we're getting a sense to see what it's like when the men have each other. They're not just like one dude from Casa working with everybody else, And
it's good too, because I feel like what happens, and I feel a lot of Ace's behavior is an like example of this, is once there's established patterns, you can kind of manipulate them. And I think a lot of people on this show have studied the show, and this is different. So it's like, you don't know what to do here. This has not happened yet.
You can't just keep gaming it. Which also, speaking of like established patterns, it feels like previous seasons, the whole thing is like the OGs. Like the OGs make it to the end, the OGs win. And so like being an OG puts you in a certain amount of power. And you can see it. Even Nick, like when he was talking to Elon, said like, well, I want you to like be able to go big in challenges. Like he said things that were very like Godfather-y. Like, okay, like
it's like, sit down and be humble. And I saw the meme that was like, he was in his cowboy costume and Elon was in a costume. And this was one of the most serious conversations that happened all season. And I was like, that is hilarious.
Yes, it was amazing.
He's in like a cowboy.
It was amazing. And he's sitting there very not joking. Like very like, very serious. Heated. Like very heated. I was so impressed. Like Elon, I felt bad, but like again, talk about power. And again, talk about precarious power. Because why are you so upset? Nick, you have so much power. She's not going anywhere. Like, it's okay. He shouldn't have said that. Fair. And Elon was saying, like, I didn't know that wasn't funny. And you probably should have known that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wasn't that big a deal. And like, especially, again, as the person in power, Nick, like, come on. You don't need to. And actually, so like, when he was so upset, I was like, come on, Nick. Like, really? But then when he did talk to Elon, I actually was glad. He handled it actually okay. Considering how he was feeling, I was impressed with how he handled it. And Elon, I was impressed. The first thing he said, even though he shouldn't have had to do this, the first thing out of his mouth was, this was my first big challenge. And I learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
Amazing. He opens it out. He opens it up. He's like, I know I'm the one who did wrong. Here's me opening up a ground for like us to talk about. And sure enough, Nick couldn't say a whole lot after that. He had to be like, right, well, here's what I want you to learn from this.
Yeah.
But like, so it was a little bit power like establishing on Nick's part, but I didn't think he overdid it. And that was a distinction from how some of the other power dynamics played out. So it's like these OGs are super hyper focused on the fact they have all the power and everyone else is aware of it. So that means that all the Casa and more people are like hyper aware of what's going on among the OGs. And the OGs don't give a fuck what's going on among the Casa people because they don't have to. They don't need to worry about it. It's the Downton Abbey effect where it's like the folks
upstairs, downstairs.
Exactly. Yeah. Folks downstairs know exactly what's going on upstairs. The people upstairs don't give a fuck. They don't need to. So it's like interesting to see it play out with the group dynamic therefore.
Ooh, one final thing.
Yeah.
Was Clark overplaying? This is a leading question that illustrates how I feel.
Yeah.
Was she overplaying her outrage at Alandria?
I think she felt that way.
Yeah.
And she needed a thing. Yeah. Like I felt a little bit like she like needed a thing. Like because she didn't really have much to air. I mean, immediately she was like, I knew what you meant. You know, like
she backed
up. And I think at the same time, it's sort of like she also knows she doesn't have power. And I think she was like, so like her bringing anything up was her being like, here's my little bit of power, like, which in some ways I feel badly about because it's pretty much all she could do. And then Alandria, like, obviously immediately like took it out at the knees because she was very kind about it.
She was.
And that's how she should be. And that's how all of the rest of them should have been, you know, it's like kind. You have power, be kind, you know?
And directed at the person who it's meant for. Alandria did not direct her, you know, annoyance at Clark because it's not Clark's fault. Clark is doing what she's supposed to do. I think Clark's like, well, I'm not just a test. It's like, yeah, we all know.
Yeah.
To me, it was like, yes, of course you're not just a test. He clearly likes you better. You don't have to. You don't have to worry.
Say? Like, does she fill out any postcard? No.
Yeah,
I mean, it's either that or no postcard.
That's a good point. That's her only beef.
Her only beef.
That's it. Because it's like Alandria, like she, I think, has much more reason to be annoyed with you than you at her. Because clearly you two have chemistry. So it's, but you're right. You got this. Don't worry. Exactly. It's like, and Alandria to be so gracious towards her, I was like, that's very kind. And finally to come at Taylor.
I know. That's where that needed to go. Exactly.
I was so relieved. I was like, stop.
That was so good. But right, like that's such a good microcosm of what we're talking about here, where it's like Clark has the power because Taylor chose her. And that's the only reason she has power. But like she doesn't have other kinds of power that Alandria does have by being an OG and everyone loving her. And so Alandria made the choice not to overplay her hand as a person in power with Clark, only with Clark, as it should be. Not with Taylor, in other words. She should absolutely play whatever she wants to do with Taylor. But with Clark, she didn't overplay her power. And Clark also having the power of having gotten Taylor's attention also didn't overplay it. She also was just sort of like, well, like the one thing I had with the one conversation, but like maybe she overplayed it by even just bringing it up, but like she kind of had to. She had nothing else to bring up.
Except for she could be like, Taylor, stop messing around.
Like I can tell that you're fucking us both over. It's like, I don't know, not really, right? She can't come to Taylor because then it looks like he doesn't like her enough or something.
Which
she can't.
Clearly kind of does.
Right, but she can't make that obvious or she loses her one form of power, which is Taylor's choice being her. And like the same thing with like everyone going for Taylor being like, make up your damn mind. It's sort of like, it's like, right. Like I actually was glad Alandria brought up the fact that he said to her, I wanted to kiss you. But, because I said during that scene, I was like, he's absolutely now stringing Alandria along too. And I'm glad she called it out.
I think who said that? Ariana in the
breadcrumbing.
I was like, yes, that is exactly what's
absolutely
happening.
Breadcrumbing. Exactly. Yes. I love that verb. That is a good verb, and that is a good one for what he's doing. Again, it speaks to his like very like youthful way of being in the world. I don't want to like use young as like a negative thing, but like early in life experience thing he does,
where he can't just cut her off.
He's not. He's
because that's actually what the kind thing. The nice thing is to keep this going, but that's going to cause much more damage in the long run.
Exactly. He's doing what he thinks people want him to do because he thinks everyone wants him to be with Alandria, so he's trying to like keep that going too. But I mean, whatever. He just, he's just got a lot of learning and growing to do.
He's not my cup of tea at this point.
No, he's not a book I want to read.
No.
This is my output.
No.
I love that.
Amazing to say.
Yes. Well, what a delight. This has been a joy. A privilege and an honor to do this with you.
Indubitably.
2 weeks in a row.
Yes.
So we're gonna aim for once a month in person because it's just joy. It's a different experience. It's a joy. And we could like open name where we go. Anyway, that's behind the scenes. But for now, come check us out on patreon.com/ oh my God, can I tell you something really quick?
Yeah.
So this is so bad. No, it's negative. So I've been using this video reboot. I've been using this, and I'm confusing, so I'm smiling. But I've been using this program to do our video episodes with. And the other day, I downloaded a new version of it, and I was like deleting old versions to like get rid of it. And I accidentally deleted all of my stored data. So now I had to start over for like creating videos, like all new titles, all new, like everything. It took me hours and hours and hours. And I just was like ready to cry. I didn't cry, and I didn't even get that angry. But internally, I just was like, oh my God, the time that this will take. And sure enough, but silver lining.
Follow us on Patreon.
I'm spending time.
A lot of work.
My whole episode versions of these that no one's watching. It took time and effort.
Do it.
But so do the excerpt versions on YouTube. So thank you for watching if you're watching those. But or actually on Spotify, anywhere you're watching it. But the other thing I was going to say about it is the other silver lining out was that I was like, okay, now that I know how this program works, I can better organize it from jump, because part of what happens is like you don't know where to put files until you know how they're going to interact. And once they're there, you have to just leave them there because it's a pain in the dick to like put it. So this time I now know the best way to organize everything. So there's a silver lining. And it means our titles are even better. They're totally different. Welcome to our new video titles and everything. Check them out. Like patreon.com/reality test. Check it out. Or you can search in their search bar if you do the @ reality test. All one, no space. You can go to our Instagrams at Dr. K Pods, that's me, at Dr. Ray Pods, that's Dr. Ray. And you can go to our TikTok at Dr.reality.tv, REALITV. You can also go to our YouTube and also our Facebook. They're both Reality Test Pod, at Reality Test Pod for YouTube. Reality Test Pod is our page, so there's spaces for Facebook. And you can also email us at realitycheckpodding, PODDING, @gmail.com.
And please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. If you can, pay for Patreon, that is amazing. As Dr. K just put forth so articulately, as I just did it right now. It's a lot of work, right?
$5 a month.
Yes, $5 a month would make a huge difference for us to keep doing this thing that we love.
And pay our sound guy.
Yeah, and pay our sound guy, who some of you may know. And if that is not something that is feasible for you right now, that is okay. Please rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. If you know someone who is finding about Love Island, be like, oh my God, I know this great podcast. That really helps us to keep doing this because we do have a lot going on and we really enjoy this and want to keep doing it.
Yes, we want to keep doing it. And also it's a little unfeasible, but we're trying
We're
best.
trying our best.
So thank you. And we adore you. And thank you for listening and watching for those who are watching. And we will see you next session.